Today we're making Loom knit baby sandals, and this is one of our most requested projects to do from our website patterns. This is by Tanya Vanoy, otherwise Granny T. Thank you so much, Tanya, for sharing your pattern with everyone. And today we're going to show you how to make them. Let's begin. Welcome to GoodKnit Kisses. We're all about helping you stitch your love and love your stitches. Let's make these cute loom knit baby sandals. You're going to need a 3/8 gauge loom with at least 10 pegs, and it's also called a small gauge loom. You're going to need your yarn. I'm using 1 strand of number 5 weight bulky yarn, or you can use 2 strands of worsted. This one is Bernat Maker Home Deck. Of course, you need your loom hook or loom tool, a tapestry needle for weaving in your tails, and then another tapestry needle or needle that will pass all the way through, whichever one works, to pass through your buttons. You're going to need 2 buttons with 2 holes. If you use a 4-hole button, then it may not pass through all of them, and you'd have to go back and add in that extra part. You'll see why later. One more tool that you're going to need, even though you're a loom knitter, you are going to need a crochet hook. I'm using a size 5 or F hook. This is 3.75 millimeter. The pattern calls for an I9 or 5.5 millimeter. I found that a G will work on a straight loom, but a F works better on this rounded one because the pegs are just slightly more close together here. So this is going to be used for a chain cast on, crochet bind off, and a couple of chains. Don't worry, I will help you through all of it. Let's go over the pieces that we're going to be making to make one sandal. One sandal works with 2 straps over here and a sole, which is the bottom, and then the heel part, which has this extra little strap around it, and it's all made in one piece. So you're looking at the 4 pieces that are made, and then you can make the sole and the 2 straps right or left-handed. You can change the directions to work best for you, but the heel, you're going to make a right heel and a left heel so that it changes where this button placement is. You'll be putting this on as we work on the loom. The stitches we're going to work with today are E-wrap, purl, and then you'll be doing a diamond lace stitch, or also called a figure 8 stitch, and it's on a flat panel. All right, gather your supplies and let's get started. Be sure and click on the link in the description below to get your pattern. Let's start by making the straps. We're going to need to make 4 of them. So we're going to cast on with a chain cast on. Go ahead and make your slip knot and place your crochet hook on, and make sure it's not too tight. You need it to be loose enough to pull a stitch through. Now this can be worked right or left-handed. Work whichever way you're most comfortable, and you can make them all right or left-handed. I'm going to go to the inside of my loom, and we're going to cast on 4 stitches. Place your hook in between 2 pegs and put your working yarn between the next 2 pegs. I'm going to get the tail trapped in with my thumb and then wrap around the working yarn around your hook, and then you're going to pull through and see how the head of the hook is up here, and then you're turning it sideways. The throat is going to catch that yarn here, and then you pull it between the pegs and pull it through this loop here on the back, and it goes easily that way. And then when we pull it and give it a little bit of yarn, it makes a little chain back here, and we go on to our next stitch here. So we're just going to wrap around, do the same thing, pull it through, and then do our 3rd one, go around, pull it through, and now to the 4th one, we're just going to place this last loop on top of the 4th peg, and we have now cast it on. Row 1, we're going to slip the 1st peg, and we're going to figure 8 on peg 2 and 3. So we're going to skip over and do the 3rd peg and wrap around the 2nd peg, and it makes a figure 8. So let's do that again. We're going to wrap around. We go around the back of the 3rd peg, go in front, and then to the back again, and then go around the back of peg 2 and around the front of peg 2 and go back. So it creates a figure 8. And then we're just going to lift up and over. This is also called the diamond lace stitch. Now we're going to go to the back again and skip over that next peg and go to peg 4, and then go around the back and do peg 3. And that is row 1. Row 2, we're going to slip peg 4, wrap around peg 2 and 3 for the figure 8 stitch. Knit those off, and then we're going to figure 8 again on pegs 1 and 2, And then we've completed row 2. You're going to repeat 7 more times, so you have 8 times that patterning is repeated. So go ahead and do that. And if you need help with counting your rows, use a little clicker to tell you how many repeats that you've done. Okay, so your knitting should look like this, and now we're going to decrease and bind off. So we're going to move the stitches from the outside to the inside. So we have 2 stitches on each peg. And then we're going to cut our working yarn. So you need maybe about 12 inches. You don't really need a whole lot. So we're going to come around to the front of the peg on this first one here. And we're going to bring up the strand from the bottom of this peg here and pull it all the way through. And then put your working yarn to the front of the peg that has 3 loops on it. And then we're going to pull downward. And we pull all that through. And now you can safely take it off of the loom and then pull on it, and you have got a completed strap. And then you're going to want to weave in your tails. Do that for this strap and trim it off so that it looks like this. And let's move on to the next part. We will do the soles next. Don't forget to make 4 straps before moving on. Now we're going to make the sole of the baby sandal, and it's going to be wider where the ball of the foot, where the toes are, and it'll get a little skinnier, and then at the back where the heel is, it gets a little bit skinnier. You're going to make 2 of these. You can make them right or left-handed. I'm going to do the same chain cast on I did before, but this time we're casting on 8. So we're just going to go ahead and put our slip knot in, and you can rewind or consult that video to see how to cast on. I'll do it quicker here. So we're just going to go in and yarn over and pull through. We're cast on 1 and pull through and cast on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the 8th one, you're just going to place that on top of that peg. So pause your video as needed, and then we're going to spin it around and work on row 1. Row 1, we are slipping the first peg, and then we want to knit the next 7 pegs. So we're going to be E-wrapping in this pattern. Wrap all the pegs except for the first one, and then knit over. Okay, and now row 2, we're going to slip the first peg and work purling the next 6 pegs. So in order to purl, you're just going to put your working yarn to the front and go underneath the stitch you want to purl and pull up, making a loop. Take that old one off and put the new one on, and then pull it. And then we're going to do that all the way across, stopping at the last one, and this is going to be an E-wrap knit. Go ahead and purl those. Pause your video as you need. All right, and then the last stitch, we're going to E-wrap. So take the yarn behind and wrap around and lift up and over. All right, and now you're going to want to knit all the way across again, and then we will make an increase. So go ahead and E-wrap all the way down, and then you'll make the increase after you've knit over all these pegs. Okay, now you want to take your last stitch and move it over 1, and then double E-wrap the empty peg and knit over, and that is how we're making that increase there. Okay, and then put your yarn to the front, and then we'll move on to the next, which is purling. So we're going to purl 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we purled peg 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're going to knit this last one. And then we want to do the same increase where we pick that up and move it over, and then we will double E-wrap this peg here, and we've made our increase. All right, so I've just completed a row 4, and moving to increase, we are going to work a row of knits and then purl to the end with a knit at the end, and then we're going to repeat that 2 more times. So we're starting a row 5, and after you complete a row 10, we're going to do a decrease and make this go back down to 8. So go ahead and E-wrap and go across. You're still slipping that first peg, and remember on the purl row, that last stitch is going to be knit. So pause your video, maybe back up when you are ready to do the decrease. Again, we're doing this this section here for the ball of the foot. So you see, we're ready to start the decrease. We're going to be picking up the stitch on each end. So pick that one up and pick them up on this end here, and you're just going to leave them there. And this is to prepare you for the 11th row. And now we're still slipping that first stitch, and we're doing a knit row, and just going to go ahead and wrap all the way to the end. And then the last peg will have 3 stitches on it, and those are getting knitted together. So you're going to go ahead and just knit all those stitches over. And then the 12th row, you will be purling and then knitting the last 3 stitches together. So it's just as we've done before, and but you're just preparing. This one is just preparing for that next row. So now that it's already moved over, you can just purl these and then knit the last 2 together. So they're not getting purled, they're still getting knit at the end of each purl row, just as you have been doing. So it gets that nice slipped edge, which is that chained edging that you can see back here. And see how it has that nice chained edge. And that's what happens when you slip these stitches. And the trick on a purl row is you want to knit it instead of purling it. Otherwise you get a little awkward bump. All right, so go ahead and E-wrap that. Okay. And let's move on to row 13 and 14, which is just as you've been doing before. You slip the first stitch and go ahead and knit the rest of these. And then moving back, purl as before. After you do that, you're going to repeat rows 13 and 14, which is knitting across and purling back. You're going to repeat it 7 more times, and you'll end up with your yarn at the end after you complete a purl row. All right, pause your video and meet me back after you have done those rows. See, so you should have 28 rows, and you can count the ridges, and there's half that many ridges, or you can count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, all the way up to the back. That's 28, and now we're going to be decreasing again. This is where we're going in for the heel. So pick up those outside stitches just as you did before, and then we're going to work a knit row again, where we knit the last 2 stitches together. So you're just slipping the first 2 on that very first peg, and E-wrapping all the way down to the end and knitting over 2 stitches over 1, and then the 4 pegs in the middle, 1 over 1. Then you're going to purl back and then leave this last one for knitting. So we're still slipping that first peg, purl 4 stitches, and then knit. And then that will get us to the end of row 32. That got us to the end of row 30. I'm sorry, I said 32 earlier. So that we're at the end of row 30, and now we want to work another knit row and purl row just as before, and then we will bind off. So knit those 2 and meet me back up for the bind off. All right, we're going to bind off with the Crochet Bind Off, and I use a loom tool, or you can use your fingers, and we're going to pick up the stitch that has the working yarn on it, place it on our hook, and then we're going to be picking up the next stitch and placing that on our hook as well. And then we will yarn over with our yarn here, just wrap it around just as you did when you were doing that original chain. And we're going to pull that on through these 2 stitches here. And if it helps, you can kind of pull downward and make that little teardrop shape, and then it pulls through easier. So now you should have 1 loop on your hook, and you can pick up the next stitch and put it on there. Now what's funny is because I knit this in one method, I find that if I actually knit it in the opposite method, it's easier for binding off, but the purls aren't as easy. So you may struggle a little bit with the crochet bind off as I'm doing, because I'm knitting this right-handed. Depending upon which video you're watching, I may have flipped it for the left-handed view. So I find it easier to actually work this the opposite direction. So when I make a left-handed version, it's easier for binding off, but I make the stitches, the purl stitches easier when I work it as a right-handed. Go figure. A little bit of trivia. All right, so we're going all the way down to the end and yarning over and pulling through. There we go. Last one. All right, so you're going to go ahead and wrap and pull through just as you've done before on this last stitch, and then we're going to wrap through one more time. Okay, so I've finished that last one, wrap it and pull through one more time. Now we're going to pull through about 2 yards of this loop here. So you're going to pull it all the way through about 2 yards, and then use your scissors and cut it and set that aside just like this. And go ahead and weave in both tails on the end. So you're going to make a second one and weave in the tails, and then set it aside for when we have our next piece, and we will put these all together in the end. All right, be sure and pull out those 2 yards. I'll see you in a moment. Don't forget to make 2 soles. All right, this is where we're going to make a heel, and you're going to need to make 2. You're going to make a right-handed and a left-handed version, because you want to put the button on the left side and the right side. Uniquely, this one has a loop that goes around the button, and also you're going to put the button where it's already thread onto the yarn. So I've got my extra button here for my second one. Of course, I'm going to show you how to make the right and the left. We're going to thread on our yarn onto our needle. I know this is a weird needle, but it works for me today. Go through the back of the button, okay, and then pull through that yarn. All right, pull through about a yard, yard and a half, and then go ahead and go over the top part of that button and down through the back and pull through until it catches. All right, that's about where it's going to be when we're ready to use the button, and it'll get worked while it's on the loom. So this will just kind of lay there for now. I just want you to put it there so that you're not having to constantly scoot it out of the way. All right, let's cast on. Go ahead and put your slip knot on, and we're going to crochet, or actually chain cast on. I do want to say one little disclaimer before we get started. You are making 2, and you make a left and a right. But if you find that it's too hard to cast on in one direction or the other, where you can't use the opposite hand, which is what I'm going to do, or you can't use your dominant hand and make it in both directions, then just use 2 of the same. It's just that you won't have this pretty chain cast on edge here, or this is where the crochet bind off is. It won't have this pretty edge here. It means that when you flip it around and you do this, and hand it the other direction, it won't have that chain edge. See how it's real pretty on this side? So one will look different than the other. If that finishing part doesn't bother you, then just make 2 of whichever one you're comfortable with. All right, let's move on. This one I'm going to attempt to make in my opposite hand, and this will be a little more fiddly than you saw me do before, so just bear with me. We're going to be working in this direction. So we're going to pull it on through. And I'm just going to kind of work with this first. All right, so I'm ready to move on to the next one. And then we're going to pull on through. All right. Make sure I'm not making my stitches too tight here. All right. And then we just keep going. And we want to cast on 8 stitches. So that one didn't work. So just go back in through again. That's what's nice about this cast on is you just kind of let it pop off and do another one. All right. So 8 as we've done before. Remember when you get to the 8th one, then you're just going to lay that one directly on the loop, on the peg. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we have 8. So now I'm ready to work my first row. My first row, I'm going to slip the first peg and I'm going to knit the last to the last peg here. So we're just going to E-wrap and go all the way down and knit those off. Pause your video. Okay, and now we're going to figure 8 wrap this. We're slipping the first peg and then now we're working with these here. So we're going to go all the way down to these here. So we're going to go all the way down to the 3rd peg and go around in that figure 8 just like we did on the straps. And then we skip that next peg and work with this one, figure 8. To continue going all the way down to the end, and then you're going to repeat this pattern going all the way back. So down and back. Pause your video and meet me back up when you're ready for this last part and we will put the button on. All right, I'm on these last 2 stitches for row 3. All right, and we're going to slip this first peg and we're going to E-wrap down to the 2nd peg from the end, and you can see my button is, look, it's about where I said it would be. So I'm just going to move it down just a little bit and go ahead and wrap around. And now the very last peg, we're going to wrap around, and then that button is going to fit right in the front. And now it's kind of funny, right? Go ahead and pull on that one and get it up and around that button. There we go. And then now pull on your other stitches and they should be fine. If you start working this direction, it's probably going to be fine. I just started with the button spot. Okay, really, you just made your heel. Now we're just going to do a crochet bind off or crochet cast off, same thing. And we're not going to pull our working yarn through the last loop, okay? We're going to continue to make a chain. So the first thing we do is we're going to lift this one off that has the button. Okay, and then we're going to put it on our hook. All right, so then the next one, so we're going to lift this one up, the next one up, and put it on there. And just as we did before, we're going to yarn over and pull through both stitches. All right, and now lift up and put that next one on. And pull through. Okay. It's funny that when you're working with the opposite hand that you're used to, when you do the cast on, when you do that heel, I find it's easier to do the crochet bind off on that one, which is easier when you're working with something fiddly like the button. Don't ask me why. It just it just is that way for me. So go ahead and keep going. When you get to that last one, pause your video if you need to. When you get to that last one, don't cut it, and we're going to work it a little differently. Okay, we're going to crochet this last stitch here, and so we've got that nice pretty edge that we were talking about. Don't pull that this last loop that's on your continue by making a chain for a count of 35. So this is the most crochet we're doing here. All right, so we're ready to do a chain. So we're going to yarn over and pull through, and that's 1. Wrap around again and pull through. So wrapping around, yarn over, same thing. So this is 3, 4, 5. Just make sure, and don't do it too tight, just kind of do a few and then put your finger here or your thumb here and pull through. 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, just like so that. Continue making those, and when you finish, meet me back up and I'll show you how to complete this. See you in a moment. Okay, you've got 35 stitches, and you're just going to cut a long tail. You could even do a yard if you feel like it, but just a long tail. And we're going to put on a tapestry needle on the end. And I'm going to look at my chain and count down 10 stitches and then put our needle through that stitch. And we're going to be making a loop like this one is. Let's go down here and count. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put that in there and pull through until we got a nice tight loop. Okay, and then now we're just supposed to go down through our chain and weave in the tail. And then once you get all the way down here, so what it does is it makes it kind of thicker cord here. And it's going to go all the way down to here, and then where this slip knot is, and then you can make a knot, kind of disguise where you had a knot before, and then that way it all is nice and tight. So you're going to weave down into here, and then weave in your tail for the other end. Okay, so it goes all the way down to here, and you can even tie these two together and then weave in your tails. So I'll show you a little bit about how I'm doing that here. And in fact, it doesn't say to do this, but you can tell on my other one that I have it a little bit too loose. And so I wish that I had done this. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you. So I'm going to go through my first stitch back here and pull through. And before I actually pull this loop, I'm going to just knot it right there. I'm fine with the little knot there. I want to make sure it's nice and secure. All right, so now I definitely have that secure. It's not going anywhere. And then we're just going to go back up through the back of these stitches, pulling through our tail. All right, pause your video and meet me back up. I'm going to show you how to do the cast on for the other one, and then it's going to be worked in the exact same manner. All right, well, we'll see you in a moment. Okay, for the other side, you're going to want to go like you've done before, and you're just going to pull through and do 8, 3, that's 4, 5, 6. Remember, you can slow this down. This is 7. There's those gear controls, and slow that video down or pause or rewind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you will continue working just as we've done before. We're going to E-wrap all the way down to the end, and then we're going to figure 8 stitch back and forth, and then do one last knit row, adding on the button at the end. So I'll replay those instructions from that last video. All right, so this is just a reminder, when you get on that last row, this is where you're going to be working in the button, and now it's going to be on this side, which is opposite of what you did on the last heel. So you'll just work that over, and then you'll do your crochet bind off after you knit over all of the pegs. You're going to go ahead and pick up the first peg and put that on your hook, and pick up the second peg and put that on your hook, and then you'll yarn over and pull through, and then continue going down just as you did for the other chain bind off. I'm not going to finish out this part of the video. You can refer to the section before for that, and then you're going to want to go down and create your loop after you're done, just as you did before. If you need a full visual reminder, you can tune into the opposite handed video. We have a left-handed and a right-handed video full tutorial for you, and you can see that in there too. I just want to try and shorten it down as much as I can. All right, go ahead and make your left and right with buttons, and when we come back, we will put them all together. See you soon. This next step, you're going to be connecting all the pieces. We'll start with our sole piece and all this extra yarn, and we will need the heel piece and put it on the back. We're going to be starting stitching back here and working all the way down, and then we'll pick up our straps, 1, 2, and then we'll work all the way down and pick up the next straps. And if you want to crisscross them, you're going to start picking up the one that you did first. You'll do it first on this side, and then you will have already had this one, and then you would pick this up on the next side. And so we're going to be stitching our way all the way around on the top of this sole here. All right, so let's begin. I've used a F-size hook for my the rest of my project, and I want to use this G hook because I think it works better for me. The pattern did call for an I, so you can use a larger one if you don't like it as much. These pieces can come right back out, and you can try it again if you get hung up. Okay, so we're going to start by going down through the stitches. I'm going to line these up and grab this first stitch here like that. And I want to do that so that my heel stands up a little bit more. You could go through both of them, but I think it's going to lay down too flat. So I'm going to go down through here and through this first stitch here, both of them, so that this pretty edge will stand up like that. And we're going to grab the long tail and pull up through, and then pull through this heel section. We're going to go down through that first stitch here and through the next set of stitches, and then pull it up. So we're working with the working yarn that's on the side where you're going to start your crochet. You can just flip the sole over to get the working yarn to the right position. The sole doesn't matter as much as if it's flipped upside down or not. So now that I have 2 stitches on my hook, I'm just going to go ahead and slip it through, okay? And then we've got our first little stitch here. So we move on to the next one. We're just going to go through that next bump and that next stitch down below and pull up a stitch like that, and then pull all the way through the top and then slip it through. And do that again. You're just going to repeat until you have the heel section completely added in. All right. So that's what that looks like here. So I have that little edge detail at the back. And then we're going to work our way around, and I'm going to ignore this heel section here and just keep going through these side stitches and pulling up a stitch. So pull that up and then slip it through that top stitch. You can just pass it through all at the same time. I was trying to do it slow so you could see it, but it actually made it harder when I was trying to do it slower. So just go pull up and then go through all the loops on your hook. Go to the next one, yarn over, and pull through all of them. And if you feel like you have to pull it on its side to do it easier and see it, then do that. That one's a little tight there for some reason. Okay, And then just continue going down. And when we get to this part where it's bumped out, that's where we're going to start adding in our straps. All right, so pause your video. When you get to this point, meet me back up. All right, so I am at the point where it starts bumping out, and I want to add in my first strap. So I'm going to go ahead and put in this spot here, and I've got my first stitch. It's a little tight. I used a smaller hook on that, cast on and bind off there. And then we're going to go through these 2 stitches, just as we did before. Go through all of them. Okay. And then go through another one. I have worked my stitches up until just before the toe part where it pops out, because I want to put in my first strap here. And one strap is going to go here and one strap is going to go here. So I want to leave a little bit of a gap between the two. So a stitch or 2 before is just right. So we're going to do the same thing we did before and just go through those end stitches. You may have to pull them out a little bit if they're a little tight, and go through and pull up stitches just as before, slipping them through. Okay. Make sure it's laying with the right side up, and then move on to the next one. And you should be able to work in at least 2 or 3 stitches here. There's 2, and then the last one, get one of those edge stitches. See, make sure I'm not skipping something. Yep, right here. Okay. Pull it all the way through. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and just do kind of what I call a blank one. This is going to be an empty spot where there's no strap. Pull that on all the way through. This is actually about where the increase was, so it might not pull through exactly easy. So, okay, so I've got that one, and now I want to grab my next strap and start working through. So you're going to continue working just like this. You strap it down, go all the way around this edge, and when you get back to where you put this next one down, this is where you make the decision if you want to tack down this part or if you want to tack down this one. I'm actually going to crisscross them, so I'll put this one down first, and then I'll do the next one. So continue along until you get all the way around to the other side, because you want to make sure it looks just like this. All right, pause your video, and I'll meet you back when you're ready. On the other side, I've got the, not the chain cast on, but I've got the bind off, and so it almost looks like I just have 2 stitches to work with. So I slipped it in the first one, and now I'm on to my second one, which is a little harder to get. So I want to show you that I grabbed it with the hook part first, and then tilted it and put it through there, and that was actually easy for me to do, easier than trying to yank on it. And I'm just going to pull it on through, and I'll show you what I do for the next one. So I grabbed this one and made it cross over, and so now I'm going to put this other one on top of it and then do the same. So because I only had to pull up 2 stitches here, I'm actually going to do 2 blank ones on this side instead of like the one that I did before without grabbing anything. So let's just pull this on through. 1, 2. I'm ready to go on to the next one. All right, so I've got these 2 stitches here. I want to grab it and put my hook in, go to that stitch, pull it on through. See if I can get that a little tight there. Okay. And then we'll get the next one. Really, I'm just trying to grab it evenly, so if you hit the wrong loop, it's probably just fine. I'm just trying to not grab 2 loops. Okay, and then go through the next set of stitches right here. Pull it on through. And that one was a bit tight. Okay, so now I've got this little toe area done. Isn't that adorable? Oh my gosh, it's too cute. And then we're going to go on down and start doing all these little blank ones. And it'll make it match the other side. And go all the way back to where you started. And then you'll just knot it off and weave in your tails and work on your second one. And then I will show you what mine looks like as well. We'll pull this through together and I can show you how to weave in your tail. I also have a video on how to weave in tails garter stitch. All right. Okay, so we've got this stitch down here, and so I can just go through and join, and it looks like it's not really connected as well as the other side, so I'm just going to go through and let's see, tack this one down. Is there one more? It's like I missed something. It's a nice part about crocheting. You can just kind of, if you see a hole, you can fix that stitch real easy. So we're just going to pull that on through, and I just had just a little bit of yarn left. All right, make that knotted up, and that is my little slipper and our sandal. I'm going to put in my tapestry needle and weave in this tail. And go back through here. Okay, so what you want to do is get your yarn to the back side, and you find these little kind of an umbrella and a little smile, right? And you're going to follow the yarn around and weave it around those areas. I like to come down a couple of ridges so you can really use it to your advantage. So I'm going to come down to the second ridge. I'm going to go around this little smile here and then go up to go around an umbrella. So up, around, down, and then kind of zig back and go down again, kind of like that old-fashioned candy. And that is all you do, and then you can go down a few more rows and come back up and zig around. You can even come down here and weave in that tail. Oops. And go around like that so that it's in a couple places and sort of spreads that out. And then when you're ready, you just cut off your tail. Oh my gosh. That's so cute. All right, you're going to make 2 and look at how adorable this is. All right, have fun. See you in a moment with both. Well, here's the left and the right. Aren't they adorable? Our little Loom Knit baby sandals are just uber cute. I wish I could slide them on my own feet, actually. I can't wait to see them on a baby. They're just too cute. Well, if you'd like to see the other one by Granny T, please comment down below and say, I want to see the other one or something like that. I'd love to see yours posted on Instagram or Facebook or wherever. Please be sure and tag us, GoodKnit Kisses. Hit that subscribe button and bell icon, and you can get notifications for the next one. If you aren't subscribed, I'd love to have you. I hope you have a great day and happy knitting and crochet. Bye, everyone.